Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. Yes. Welcome back to another edition, another episode, another conversation, another upload, another call it whatever you want. My name is Machel St. Patrick here at one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, and I'm back to talk to you. Well, I mean, at the time of recording, later on today, at the time of recording, I'm just looking, 3 hours from now, it'll be the final of the 2023 Caribbean Premier League between the Guyana Amazon Warriors and the Trinbago Knight Riders. Probably the biggest game, the biggest rivalry in CPL. It's probably fitting that the final is between those two teams because the other four teams, largely speaking, have been trash. That's harsh on some of them, but largely speaking, they've been trash. Largely speaking, the tournament has been beyond subpar. The only two really good teams, if you want to call it that, are in the final. So hopefully we get a Caribbean final befitting our only real domestic trans-Caribbean T20 league. Plenty of conversation to be had another day about what we need to do to resolve that, having another domestic Caribbean tournament that actually showcases the youth and so on and so forth. And my last video kind of spoke about that. But this video, as the title suggests, I'm looking forward. Now. England arrive in the Caribbean. How long? In about just under 3 months' time, England arrive in the Caribbean. That will be our next international assignment. Obviously, there's a ODI World Cup going on, but in terms of the West Indies, England will arrive for some ODIs. But I'm specifically focusing on the T20s because, after all, we've just had a T20 tournament. We host a T20 World Cup in just under 8 months. This week, it was announced that we know now which countries will be hosting the different stages of the T20 World Cup at home. Obviously, some of you will be listening and saying, Mash, you're not going to talk about Jamaica not hosting. Separate show coming up about that. I've got the guests lined up, going to look at that. We're going to deep dive on that. But like I say, as the title suggests, this one's about Kyle Mayers. Because my whole thing with this whole CPL tournament is we've got to look bigger than just who's won and this and that. As I said before the tournament started, and go look at my receipts, go look at the archives, go look at the very first video I did about a month ago on the CPL. And I said in that video, I could not care less who wins. I'm Jamaican. Couldn't care less if the Talawars win or not. Obviously, they haven't. Whatever. All I cared about was what is this tournament saying about West Indies cricket? Which players are going to stand out? Are they going to be new players, or are they going to be players that fill the kind of voids we've got in the 15-man squad at current? Will some new players come to light? Will those on the fringes perform? And on the whole, the answer is no. On the whole, as we come out of this CPL, we haven't really got any answers to the questions we were looking for. And one of those questions I was looking for answers on was Kyle Mayers. I was looking to either see whether Kyle Mayers would find form to justify why he's had such a long extended run at the top of the innings for the West Indies team in the shortest format of the game. Or I was looking for another opener to raise their hand up and say, you know what? Kyle Mayers' spot is under threat. Let me take that spot. Let me draw the stats. Let me draw the stats. Let me draw the facts. Let me bring Kyle on the screen as well. There we go. Let me draw the stats and let me draw the facts. Since Kyle Mayers scored 73, this is T20 cricket we're talking about, people. Since Kyle Mayers scored 73 against India on the 2nd of August, 2022, West Indies have played 16 T20 games, or rather, I should say, Kyle Mayers has played 16 T20 games. Let me charge this laptop before it dies on me. 1 second, people. Here we go. Kyle Mayers has played 16 T20 games. In those T20 games, he scored 150, 130. He's had 6 scores under 10. He's averaging 15. Also in that time, because some people like to say, yeah, but Carl Mayers bowls. So I went and looked at the bowling stats. Also in that time, Carl Mayers has bowled 11 overs. He's taken no wickets, and his economy rate, is just shy of or just above 9. Basically, it's 9. Get a piece of paper and write that down. 16 innings since a score of 73 versus India, 150, 130, 6 scores under 10, an average of 15. 11 overs, no wickets. Then add this to your piece of paper. In this year's CPL, Carl Mayers has scored 159 runs in, let me just check if it was 9 games or if it was 8 games. 8 games. 159 runs in 8 games at an average of 20, 1 score above 50, a strike rate of 136. So you add those 8 games to the 16 innings he's had in West Indies colours, and Carl Mayers is in a massive funk, a huge funk. Do you know what, though? I didn't actually look at how many wickets he took in CPL. Although, in fairness, as I just try, I'm going to quickly try and find that. But in fairness, that shouldn't matter. He took 2 wickets. 2 wickets. Mad funk. So since the 2nd of August 2022, in West Indies international cricket or West Indies domestic cricket, Carl Mayers has had 24 innings. I'm talking CPL and West Indies representation. 24 innings, 2 scores above 50. His average in West Indies colours is 15. His average in CPL this year was 20. Strike rate 136 in CPL. 11 overs for the West Indies, no wickets. 8 matches in CPL, 2 wickets. It's crazy out here. Economy in CPL, 8. That's a lot of stats, that's a lot of facts. And ultimately what I'm saying to people, listen to this, is based on those raw stats, Carl Mayers no longer deserves to play in the West Indies T20 side. And before anyone tries to get at me, I am a fan of Carl Mayers. I'm a big fan of Carl Mayers. In fact, he's been on the podcast. But I've got to keep it real. We got to keep it a buck. Can't have favoritism out here. Based on those stats, Carl Mayers does not deserve an extended run in the West Indies team. Someone else has to be given a go. So then I said, right, let me go look at the openers in the region. Let's look at the West Indian openers in CPL. Who put their names forward? These were the top 3 West Indian openers in CPL this year. Openers. The key word here is openers. Established T20 openers at that. Andre Fletcher, 278 runs at 40. Strike rate 144, 350s. And that was for a dreadful St. Kitts and Nevis Patriot side. Johnson Charles, 238 runs at 30. Strike rate 124. So that's even sub what Carl Mayers did strike rate wise. 150. Rakeem Cornell, he was 3rd. 193 runs at 24. Strike rate 174. 1 century. People, the pickings are slim. Let me take Mayers off. The pickings are slim, people. First question I'm asking everyone listening to this is, if not Carl Mayers, who out of those 3 you're picking? Don't call Evan Lewis, you know. Don't call Evan Lewis. Let me talk about Evan. Let's keep it a buck. Evan was so, fam, it's crazy out here. It's crazy. Let's see if Evan Lewis, 8 matches, 85 runs to blouse and skirt. 8 matches, 85 runs, average 12. Evan Lewis can't come in this conversation. He can't come in the conversation. How can you possibly justify recalling Evan Lewis when the man scored 85 runs in 8 matches, average 12? So he's not even in this conversation. So my question to everyone listening to this is, Carl Mayers deserves a drop. 100% he deserves a drop. I don't want to hear about, but he can bowl. I don't want to hear about, but he balances out the side because he can bowl a couple of... He don't take no wickets. He doesn't take wickets. And wickets has to be the metric here. It can't just be, oh, he's going at 9s, so he plays a role. That whole kind of Carl Mayers take the new ball and maybe you can strike if it swings a bit. Well, 11 overs since the 2nd of August 2022 in West Indies colours, no wickets. The experiment's not worked. So we can't justify saying Mayers is in the side to add another bowling option because that don't make no sense anymore. By all means, if you disagree, get in the comments below. Tell me why you disagree. Looking purely at the metrics of the fundamentals of why he should be picked first and foremost, with the bat, he's not producing. I gave you the numbers for Andre Fletcher, Johnson Charles, Rakeem Cornwall. The first question I'm posing to everyone watching this is, which one of those three replaces Kyle Mayers? In reality, and here's the everyone. Okay, so some of you will go, well, it's got to be Andre Fletcher. You said the stats, Mash. 278 runs at 40, strike rate 144. Andre Fletcher was the 6th best batter in CPL this year. The only West Indian opener above him was Brandon King, who's obviously the incumbent, right? And Brandon played one more match than Andre Fletcher at that. Andre Fletcher is 36, or is about to turn 36. Are you all saying to me that because Andre Fletcher had the strongest CPL as an opener outside of Brandon King, that he must be recalled at the age of 36? I'm not. I've got no opinion. I'm just asking the question. If you think 36 years old is a barrier, then your next option after Andre Fletcher, the next best West Indian opener was Johnson Charles. I gave you the stats. 238 runs at 30. Strike rate was only 124. Johnson Charles is about to turn 35. Is that a barrier to you? You mean to tell me, people, that the next best two openers in the region are 36 and 35 respectively? Lord help us. West Indies cricket is in the mud. We're in the mud, boy. We ain't got no youngsters nowhere. We ain't got no one. Rakeem Cornwall was the next best. He's 30. His strike rate was phenomenal, 174, because I've already done the video. Rakeem Cornwall understands the assignment when it comes to opening. Doesn't waste balls, doesn't often get off, but when he does, it's absolutely devastating. Would you give Rakeem a chance? Most of you will say no, because you'll say he's overweight. Okay, cool. So which of those three gets a chance, people? And if the answer is nobody, then Kyle Mayers keeps his spot. Here's the left field decision. Shai Hope is the #1 batter in CPL this year. Shai Hope has just broken back into the West Indies T20 side. It would appear that on paper that Shai Hope has revolutionized his approach to the shortest format of the game. Shai Hope has scored 449 runs in 12 matches. He's got one more tonight, obviously. 449 runs in 12 matches, 11 innings, I should point out, 11 innings at bat, an average of 50, 100, 450s, strike rate 144. So Hope has been the champion batter in CPL. That's under no doubt whatsoever. But here's the dilemma. Hope was already in the West Indies team at the back end of that India series. If you remember rightly, people, Johnson Charles got dropped after 3 games versus India in the T20 series. Hope came in for Johnson Charles and batted at number 3. At 1 and 2 was King and Mayers. So even if you lot say to me, oh, Mash, Shai Hope should open with Brandon King. Cool. So who's coming number 3? Who's coming number 3 then, people? Hope already replaced Charles. So who's replacing Hope if you put Hope to open? Now, of course, I know what people are going to say. Some of you are going to say Machel Hetmeyer to number 3 or Nicholas Pooran to number 3. Cool. I've got no problem with that. Who's replacing them in the middle order then? Because at the moment, the middle order is Pooran 4, Powell 5, Hetmeyer 6. I know the Guyanese who come into this will be like, move Hetmeyer up the order. I got no problem with that. Who's replacing Hetmeyer then at number 6? And don't come with nonsense. Be realistic. Be realistic. If Pooran goes 3, who's replacing Pooran at 4? And don't come with nonsense. Be realistic. This is why Kyle Mayers is going to keep his place in the West Indies side. This is why I think that they'll continue to back him. Because what other options do we have? Get at me in the comments below. What would you do, people? Replace him with Andre Fletcher, Johnson Charles, or Rakeem Cornwall? Or replace him with Shai Hope? But if you come at me in the comments below and say, make Shai Hope open for the West Indies T20 side, you must explain who's replacing Hope at number 3. Hope just replaced Charles. So who's replacing Hope at number 3 if Hope goes to open? It's not as simple as people think. And this goes full circle to my initial point. Prior to the start of the 2023 CPL, I recorded a video. It was called something like, what do the West Indies need from this year's CPL? And in that video, I said, we need to see an opener challenge Carl Mayer's spot. Well, 1 month and 1 week later, I don't think that question's been answered, along with many other questions that haven't been answered. Santoki and I will be recording a review of the CPL season after the kind of culmination of the Trinbago versus Amazon Warriors game tonight. We'll record a video early next week looking at a review of CPL. And once people get past the tribalism of, yeah, Knight Riders won, or yeah, Amazon Warriors won, then remember that at the end of all this is, what about the West Indies? Did we even get any answers to the questions we had before the tournament? Who's going to replace Carl Mayers, or does Carl Mayers keep his spot? You know what to do, people, as usual. Look at the ticker tape below. Follow the Caribbean Cricket Podcast at Carib Cricket, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Caribbean Cricket Podcast. If you'd like to become a supporter of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast financially, remember we don't have a main sponsor. You'd see him on the screen if we did. Head to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket, and you can support for as little as £1, £1, £1, whatever your currency is. Get on the wave and keep us going. Keep us on the airways. You know how we do. We keep it real 100% of the time. My name's Machel, St. Patrick here at one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Stay locked in, people. Plenty of content coming over the next week. Peace.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.